You want to get that background separation, but you don't have that expensive lens. Hang out with me for a few minutes and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So let's say that you have a lens that is a kit lens or whatever. It's a 16 to 50 millimeter lens, f3.5 to, let's say, f5.6. At 16 millimeters, it's 3.5, and when you zoom out to 50 millimeters, it's f5.6. Or say that you have the 18 to 135, and that's an f3.5 also to f5.6. And again, at the wider end, it has a lower aperture, which is the f3.5, and as you zoom out to the 135, it is 5.6. So here we go. You have your tripod set up at a certain distance, and then you have your background. For this example, let's say your background is a psych wall, and you have your person that you're shooting pictures of in front of that psych wall. And here's our happy person that's ready to take their picture. Well, let's change that from a psych wall, because there's really no type of details in the psych wall, to being a forest or trees or bushes or something that has details that you can, show some type of separation from. But to get that separation of the background, and we don't have the capabilities of going down to f1.8, we're going to have to pull them away from that background. Now, in doing so, we may have to move the camera further back according to what focal length that we're using. Now, technically, you have the information that you need, but if you hang around a little longer, I'll show you a real world example, okay? Let's get to it. Quick interruption. If you're liking this video so far, how about liking and subscribing to help me grow this channel? I appreciate it. Now back to this video, okay? Let's go. So I could set the camera to 1.8 or lower, and I could stand right here, which I'm guessing 6 feet away from the camera. And my background is about 15, 20 feet away from me. Or I could, the closer I get, you'll see how the background starts to fade out more. So if I was to change it, because I did not have a, let's say, a camera lens that would drop down below, to 1.8 or lower, and I only had, let's say, f4. I'm going to change the ISO to compensate for that. And I think I like it about 400. Let's go 500. Let's see. And I'm going to back up closer to the background. Now I have about, say, 6, 7 feet away from the background. But if you don't have that fast aperture glass that can drop down to f1.4 or f1.8, this is what you do. At the same setting, you just get further away from the background and allow the camera to focus in on you, and you have more separation. You see how I stand out a little more? So let's look at it from this point. My camera is set to 1/125, f1.8, and iOS 100. I'm about 4 feet from the camera, and you can see how you're focusing more on me than the background. The background starts to fall off. Let's see if we can go a little more dramatic, which I think that's well enough, but since we have a little time, let's take it. We're going to take that down to 1.4. And now I'm a little overexposed, so I want to take my ISO, which is already to 100. At this distance, I have about 3 feet from the camera, and I have about, where you start seeing that, probably about 7 feet from the background. Now this works fine if I have a low aperture lens or a lens that I drop down to 1.4, 1.8. But say for instance that you don't have that lens that are dropped down to to that 1.4, 1.8. And you only can drop down to, let's say, let's say f4. No, let's go 5.6. So I'm changing my ISO. Come on, sir. Hey, enjoy yourself, okay? Hey, let me know if you need any help.
Have a good one, man.
You too. Okay, I'm gonna set my ISO to 800. But I want to take my shutter. Let's change the shutter. And we'll see how that affects the video too. Okay, so I'm at f5.6. You should see more of the background. Let's take it up a little higher from 5.6. And so this is still me at 3 feet, f5.6. We'll go f8. I'm going to change my ISO again to 800. Now you should see a lot more of the background. Now you can make out what the background is in the beginning, but if you don't have a lens that can drop down to that lower aperture, this is what I'm going to make a recommendation that you to try. We're going to move further away from the background. Balance the camera a little bit. Put the lens hood on to stop that flaring. Okay. Now, again, I'm about 3.5 feet from the camera, and you see how the background is still in focus, but it's not as in focus as it was in the beginning. I hope that helps.